Right, and welcome back to the Stephen Howson podcast. Today's guest is my good friend Jay, aka Justin, aka Jay Motty. You might recognise him from many podcasts that we do on Stretford Paddock together. The reason I've got Jay on today, because you're thinking, is there not enough videos with you two? The reason I've got him on today, as we sit in the bar, is because the topic of sobriety has come up in every single podcast that we've done so far. And I thought, I know your story, but I don't know if you've told it warts and all, long format for the audience. And I also think that there's probably things that I'd like to discuss with you, that I'd like to ask you. And I just thought, with the theme of this podcast increasingly going down positive aspects of sobriety sort of route, there's nobody better in my life to ask than Jay about his journey, where it started, why it started, how bad it got, and how his life has changed since going sober. So, Jay, welcome to the pod.
Thanks, bro. I didn't know if you knew I was sober. I don't really like to talk about it much, but yeah, 11 years in, and you was telling me the other day about how your topics keep going back to sobriety, and then you said, you know, I should come on your podcast and chat to you, and I thought, yeah, and the more I thought about it, I thought, yeah, surely you should have asked me, yeah, I should be on here if you're going to talk about sobriety, because what I like about when me and you chat is, on the brew especially, conversations veer into our personal lives and what we're up to, and obviously, I've said it before and I've said it again, like, you know, I couldn't get sober for years, my addiction sort of just controlled my life, and if it wasn't for my sobriety, I wouldn't be sat here with you now, I wouldn't be able to do Stretford Paddock, I wouldn't have even done Full-Time Devils, going back to those days when me and you was on there together. So yeah, everything I've got, whether that's my kids, my career, friendships with people like you, I owe it all to my sobriety, 100%.
So take us back to probably teenage Jay, I presume, with her.
Yes, just about.
When did alcohol and substances start becoming a thing?
Yeah.
Was it park bench stuff, like seemingly is almost like a rite of passage in Manchester for teenage kids growing up? And which can be a bit of a rite of passage and quite normal. When did it start going from that to maybe getting a little bit out of hand?
Yeah, it was park benches. The first time I can remember really getting drunk with my mates was we went on a school trip. I think it was about 11 or 12. And we'd arranged, me and my mates, we went to like the lakes or somewhere, I can't remember because I was drunk. Because basically we said, me and mates said, right, we'll nick drinks from our house, because all our mums and dads had like drinks cabinets or beers in the fridge or whatever, and we'll get on it on the trip, on the coach, we'll drink, and then, you know, we'll just get drunk or whatever. So I must have been about first or second year at high school. But I was the only one who came through. I got like a load of gin and stuff from my mum's drinks cabinet and put it in like a lemonade bottle. So none of my mates were able to get anything, and I weren't sharing it with them. I was like, you didn't do what you was meant to do, so you can fuck off. So I remember drinking on the back of the coach, getting levered, and going through all the stages of being drunk, like happy, enjoying myself, chatting to girls on the coach, loving it. Then, you know, getting a bit belligerent, kicking off, whatever, arguing, shouting things at teachers, then being almost knackered and hungover on the way back. It was like the whole sort of experience of being drunk in the 8 hours, whatever it was, we were on the trip. But I enjoyed it. I remember thinking, yeah, that was mint, and I loved it. And then about a year or two later, I started drinking a little bit more, like you say, on park benches. I used to stay with my mates, because I lived in Pinton, but I went to grammar school, which was like 5 miles away. So at a weekend, I used to stay with my mates quite a lot, because he lived near the school. So my school friends, I'd sort of hang around near the school and stay at his house. And his mum and dad had split up, so he just lived with his mum, who was quite sort of chill. So yeah, we used to go out in the park, drinking cider. At first it was just drink. Didn't start smoking weed until I was about 14, 15. So from about 13, 14, I was just drinking. And yeah, I just really enjoyed it. And it became evident quite early that when my mates had had enough and were ready to stop and didn't want to drink anymore, I always wanted to carry it on and wanted to keep going.
Did you keep going?
Yeah, definitely. As long as I could. If you physically couldn't get any, then...
So they've all gone home, you still...
Yeah, there's times when, like, because I'd stay with my mates, I'd take drinks back to his. He used to have a loft, which was his room on the top floor of his house, so I'd sit in his loft, carry on drinking, and then we threw weed into the mix, so I used to smoke weed, then whiz, or amphetamine, as you will, speed, came into it. So it just progressed from there, then eventually ease and all the rest of it, which we can probably get into later. But I always wanted to carry on drinking. I always wanted to just keep going. And I think whenever you get sober, they ask you why you drank. People, whether I've had therapy, 12-step, whatever, there's always that thing of why did you drink? And a lot of it is I enjoyed it, but a lot of it was probably part of me. I felt like I needed to socialise. I wasn't as confident as sometimes people thought I was.
Even as a teenager?
Yeah, and I think I had a lot of... trying to think how I can word this. I didn't always feel good about myself. From a sort of age of around puberty, around becoming a teenager, because it was at that same time that this sounds insane, but I'm amongst friends, so I can tell you the true story and where I think this all came from. I never noticed till I was about 11 or 12, and this sounds insane, but it's the truth, because basically my biological dad I didn't meet till I was 30. My mum's white. She's part Asian, but she's white. And she met the man I called dad when I was 2. So I knew them as my parents, as far as I can remember, 2 white people. Never dawned on me at all that why am I brown and they're not, honestly. Dawned on me when I was like 12, 13, which was then opening up questions, well, why is that? Then it dawned on me, or then I was told, like, my biological dad, I never met him, he didn't stick around. And I think that bothered me more than I let on.
Is that maybe like questions about identity?
Identity, because I grew up in a white council estate, very racist at the time. You know, I used to have fights with my mates, became friends, but, you know, one of my friends, the first time I met him, he racially abused me and we had a fight and begrudging respect was born and then we became friends. So there was that feeling of not quite fitting in, and also that feeling of, did I do something wrong? Why didn't he want to know me? I used to bring it up now and again when I was drunk, and it'd be dismissed as you just drunk, being a balloon.
But that's in your head.
That's in my head, yeah. And it's constant in your head because you constantly got a reminder of it. And that's not to say that Paul, who I call my dad, who is my dad, you know, didn't love me or raise me in the right way. I'm not saying that he treated me in a way that would make me feel bad or anything. He didn't. Even when they had our kid, you know, my younger brother, there was never any favouritism. I didn't see it anyway, if there was any. But I think that was a big part of me struggling for so many years, because it was that sort of sense of, I don't know, not fitting in and not belonging and being let down, or not even being let down, being a let down, which is ridiculous because you've got kids. You know, if you duck out on your kid, it's not the kid's fault, it's yours. But I didn't see it like that, so I thought maybe there's something wrong with me, which sounds a bit, you know, daft, but that's how I felt.
Rationalising that as an adult in your 40s doesn't take away from whatever you're thinking and feeling emotional-wise, because obviously you're going through puberty, your hormones are up the spout anyway. Throwing in, let's be honest, quite a significant, not identity shift, but like realisation. Mm-hmm. In that, I think it's a perfectly valid thing to have questions, to maybe act out because you're maybe not even getting those questions answered. To maybe, you know, I think questions is probably the biggest thing, and probably have not a crisis of identity, but certainly like struggles with an identity.
I think you're right. You couldn't be more right. There was a crisis of identity. At times, I felt like, this sounds insane, I had to act more black than I was. I overcompensated it because I don't sound the same as a lot of my friends who, you know, grew up in a predominantly black household. And my accent and my voice is slightly different. And I think that is a lot because of my environment. And there was a time when I thought like I had to listen. I know this sounds stupid, but, you know, forgive me, I'm a 12-year-old confused kid who had to watch Malcolm X and listen to Public Enemy and dress a certain way that I felt fitted into a certain sort of stereotype that I should be fulfilling. And then it took me a long time to realise, without trying to be all sort of Clinton Cardi, be true to yourself. You know, I don't put on an accent. I know I was born in Essex, but I lived there for 2 weeks. So this is actually my natural accent. So don't try and. I know, yeah. There's a shocker.
Cockney red.
I know, yeah. Honestly, I'm not. I've been living my life as a fraud. I'm not even Mank. He's Mank. There's only one Mank on this podcast, and it ain't me. So yeah, and it took me a long time to realise you just be honest in it, be yourself, be true to yourself, and that's what I am. But for a while, I felt like I had to act a certain way to try and live up to how I thought black people were. And I know that's nuts, but it did it. There was an identity crisis, and I felt like I got shortchanged. There was an anger there as well, because that sort of disappointment or whatever evolved into anger, because I felt like there was a time when I felt and I don't want to make this all about race, but this is a part of it, where I got the short end of the stick. I got the racism without having any black friends or black families to stick up for me. The lack of understanding in my own household of what it was like to be black, because none of them were, and the things that the experiences that I was having, and they couldn't quite relate. I remember fighting at school once because someone racially abused me, and my mum and dad siding with the school because to them, when someone racially abuses you, you walk away. Doesn't matter what they say. Where in my head, no, you don't. You chin him. And I remember thinking, if he was black, you'd think differently. They probably wouldn't. I'm not saying they would. My son's.
But that's what you think.
Yeah,
you think what you think.
Yeah, at the time I'm thinking you don't get it. So yeah, and I felt like I got all the sort of bad parts of being a black person. So you got the racism, you got the sort of self of being picked on and not belonging, without the good parts of people, sort of that sense of community, that sense of family, that sense of being a part of something different together. So it was.
Food.
Yeah, the food, yeah. That was. I mean, don't get me wrong, sometimes this sounds insane, but I grew up in Pinton, which was quite rough. But I remember there was once where two of my mates got mugged and I didn't. And I remember, because we used to have this ongoing feud with this other town, it's just nonsense. But I remember one of the guys someone saying to me, "Mate, you got mug him," pointing at me, and I said, "No, I better not." And I think that was because of my colour, not because I was particularly big or anything. But that's like one of the few times I think it was an advantage, because a lot of the time I looked at it and thinking I'm getting short shrift there, and added to my sort of anger with everything, with life.
I think teenagers go through that as a matter of course, and I think you spin the wheel to whatever you end up landing on.
Yeah.
It might be race, it might be weight, it might be hair colour, it might be sporting ability, academic ability, it might be economic factors of your parents' job, where you live, the car that they drive. I think teenagers are going to feel an identity issue with one of those things at some point, and I think it's probably just a natural occurrence of understanding who you are. And I think every teenager kind of goes through, we all go through a stage of like listening to all sorts of mad music. I listened to happy hardcore for a lot of my teenage years. Why? I don't know. If it comes on now, I feel 14 again.
I used to love hardcore. When I started raving, I was a big happy hardcore fan. And then I discovered drum and bass one night in Bowlers. And in the other room, I could hear the drum and bass, and I started listening to that a bit more. But I was into happy hardcore.
I think a lot of us go through that stage of like dipping a toe into different music. That's in the jungle.
Yeah.
What is a white kid with blue eyes from Dresden listening to Jungle Brothers all about? You know what I mean? But meanwhile, here we are. Probably explains so much about how I turned out.
Yeah, that's true.
But I think every kid goes through that.
Yeah.
And goes through that. And maybe not even just as a kid. I think even adults go through who am I?
Yeah. No, that's true. Yeah, you can still feel like that now. And also I did the other added bit of, I went to grammar, and I lived in Pinton, the council estate in Pinton. I went to Imston Grammar with a lot of middle class or lower middle class kids. So there's that element as well. You're almost an outsider there, and a little bit of an outsider at home.
Yeah, when you come on because you go to the grammar school. Yeah,
it was weird because I was only like a handful of us from Pinton who went to Imston Grammar. So yeah, it was just a bit of a weird mix, and I think that might have been one of the reasons why I drank so much as I did from such an early age, because it was quite early doors. It was obvious that I wasn't just drinking like everyone else.
How often a week are we talking here?
When I was at school, it was only weekends, usually.
Just the usual social.
Yeah, Friday, Saturday, maybe Sunday. Smoking weed became a bit more problematic because that tended to be more in the week as well. And then it really got, sort of the wheels started coming off a little bit more was when I started taking whiz. Because we used to do it on a Thursday at school because we had PE. So we'd have it for, I know, honestly. It's
not a pre-workout, just.
I know, that's what I mean. We'd be running around like lunatics in PE,
It literally is a pre-workout.
Drug enhanced PE. It was mental, like. No one gets pissed.
Doing cross country.
Yeah, like
just
broke the school record again, Jay. This is amazing. How have you managed this 3 weeks in a row? And then, I remember that was my first introduction to amphetamine, to whiz. And then just after as we were leaving school, started going raving to Bowlers, and that became my life. Got to Bowlers. And then I remember this time was around.
Drugs are going to come in pretty quickly from there, aren't they?
You nailed it, because this was around the time E's were massive, but there was a lot of a worrying fear around these as well because Leah Betts and all that.
Her dad came to my school.
Really?
In the 90s, yeah.
Yeah, I remember it. I remember it well. But it didn't put me off enough to not do it. I mean, I started taking E's. I always said I'd never take an E. And eventually, then it becomes, well, I'll only take half. And then it's, I'll only take one. Then it's, I'll never double drop. Then it's, I'll never take more than 2 in a night. And then it's, you know, I'll if I ever get to double figures in a night, I'll stop. Like, I remember once we was in Bowls, I told this story before, and there was these pills called Spice Girls, which is shit. All pills are shit, but these were particularly rubbish. And people were collapsing of them, right? Like the paramedics and everything had turned up. And I remember everyone's going, I'm Spice Girls, there's fucking something wrong with them. And I had an 8. And I was sat fucking shitting myself thinking, because I'd been popping and nothing had happened, so I carried on. Because I might have used to sell them to pay for them and stuff like that. But I don't think I was selling them anyway, so that don't even make sense. But yeah, I remember thinking, fucking hell, I was absolutely bricking it, because I thought people are dying off or collapsing off 1 or 2, and I have an 8 of them, I'm going to be in trouble. But thankfully it was just, I don't know, I didn't for whatever reason.
At what point did this recreational, kind of heavy recreational, start feeling like it was problematic, or did it not until, 10, 15 years ago?
Well, I moved out. I was in a pretty loving household, and I moved out when I was 16, 17, because of drugs and drink, really. I chose to move out, technically, even though it was, like a mutual agreement, I think. I could have stayed if I'd have wanted to or sorted my head out a bit, but I was just more interested in getting out of my head. I think Mum and Dad had enough. Plus, my brother's 10 years younger than me, so he's 6, 7, 8, seeing this guy coming in after clock, always erratic in his behaviour. I remember, like, a good example of my mum and dad. I think mum and dad were really concerned about mental health as well, because I went through a state, like, I'd come home on a Sunday afternoon, been out a weekend. I remember my mum would do like a Sunday dinner, and I couldn't eat it, so I'd pocket like food, to hide that I wasn't eating. And then she found like, gravy and mashed potatoes and stuff in my pocket, and thought he's going fucking around the bend. Then I actually did end up going to a mental hospital for a while, for a week, because my behaviour was just off key.
What triggered that?
I remember, I think I went to get signed off work, and the doctor said, after a conversation with me, I'm going to recommend that you, when I say recommend, I don't have had a choice in the matter, go to Moorside, which is near in Ilmston, near Park Hospital, Trafford General. Just spent a week in a residential mental hospital, and I think I was about 18 at the time. And I'm 18, and I remember still not thinking drugs was a problem. Still thinking, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing here. These people are all mad. That's what I thought. These people are off their head. What am I doing here? What's
that experience like as an 18-year-old?
I've never really spoken about this properly. It's so surreal, because in many ways you're like, what am I doing here? And another part of you is like, wow, I'm 18 and I'm already in mental hospital because of whatever reason. But there was so many people around me at the time who I thought were off key, in this facility. They weren't violent or anything. It wasn't a violent place. That I just was looking at others, thinking at least I'm not as bad as them. And that's what I did on all my using. You'd always look at people that are worse. So I might be skin and sniffing or whatever. At least I'm not sticking needles in my groin and robbing old ladies or whatever. You'd always look down, and I think there was an element of that. And it still didn't make me wake up and realise that maybe you should stop taking drugs.
What's the daily routine like in
there? It was 27 years ago, so my memory is hazy of it, and I was on medication. I remember I had my own room.
What did they do, sedate you?
I think it was just tablets, I can't remember that clearly, because sometimes my memory gets fuzzy, because I did detox as well, which was injections and pills. I think it was just tablets, and I think it was like group, and then it was like workshops, and then there was like a smoking room, because this is back in the days when everyone smoked, and you could smoke and chat, and that's when I used to think all these people are mental. And there's one guy in there who I knew as well. I know from Pints, and I knew his sister, so me and him used to chat quite a lot. And then after a week, they said, like, my mum came and picked me up with a friend. They said he's well enough to go back into your care at home. And then for about about a week, I don't think I went out from mum and dad's, and then after a week I went out and was just drinking again and taking drugs, and eventually moved out. So I must have moved out when I was about 18, 'cause I'm sure I was 18, sorry, I got it wrong. I think I moved out proper when I was 18, not 17, yeah, because it was around the time of the France 98 World Cup, and I was 18 when it happened.
I'm trying to think what did that experience do? Did that affect you in no way whatsoever to curb it, or had that put any level of warning sign in your head at all?
This is how insane it is when you're using drugs and you're an addict. That almost encouraged me, because it almost made me think, at least I'm not as bad as them lot. At least I'm not completely off the radar like these people are, even though I'm sat in the same room as them, in the same facility, you know, sleeping on the same roof. It's weird. It didn't discourage me at all. And I can't explain that. And I think any rational person goes, well, that's a wake-up call. If my son was 18, I'd be more, you know, I'm not saying mum and dad didn't care, because they did, but like, you think, oh my God, what, you know, but at the time I was just like, oh, the doctor's got it wrong. These have got it wrong.
Just going to do a week in this mental hospital.
Yeah, like, yeah, honestly. And I was so blasé about it, I just can't even explain it. I now can't think fully how I was thinking back then.
No, you weren't well.
No, it's I know it's mental, but I know I wish I had a better explanation for you. It didn't discourage me at all. I just carried on, maybe a little bit, and you know, I was in a bad way as well. I remember having some dark thoughts, and I was 18. I remember at one point, because my moods used to swing, thinking like I was suicidal at one point, and yet I just dismissed it. And then, you know, a week later or a day later, I feel all right, and it's just like, yeah, you know what, that was just a phase. Just carry on. So I always carried on using. There was never a point where, or not until I got much older, where stop drinking or stop taking drugs was the option. It was always just carry on.
I sort of understand where the discharging, the act of discharging, doesn't necessarily encourage or justify continuing.
Yeah.
But I know when I got discharged from Catterick for whatever I was going through mentally, I sort of went, psychiatrist says I'm sound.
Yeah.
Off we pop.
Yeah.
Never have to open that door ever again. He says I'm cool, so I am cool.
Yeah.
So I do understand how having like a medical professional discharge you.
Yeah.
You've gone, wow.
Green light in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good point. I'd almost forgot that. Yeah. So in my head, I'm better. I'm cured. You always used to think that would use the word cured. I'm cured, or whatever it was that was the issue. That ain't the issue anymore. I'm cured now.
So does the next 10 years spiral into more substance, more frequent? Where does it go from there?
Bro, there's a time when I used to look back at my time in a mental hospital with fondness after the next few years. I'll give you the brief sort of summary, because I don't want to depress you or you listeners or viewers. But I spent Christmas 2000, going into 2001, Christmas, New Year, and my 21st birthday, which is in January, in jail in London. On remand, just drug-related offences that I didn't go to court for, and I'd have gone, then I probably wouldn't have been remanded, I could have gone to court, whatever. So I went to jail for 6 months, just on remand. I had a couple more incidents where I did community service for supplying, just like, it don't matter, but just cannabis. I remember doing community service like 180 hours. So I went from community service 180 hours when I was still working, doing that on a Sunday, staying up all night, going out raving, going straight to the probation centre to clean cars and deliver leaflets. It was fucking mint. I can't recommend it enough. Then I moved out of London, got in more shit, using more drugs, ended up getting locked up. And then around 2005, when United lost to Arsenal in the FA Cup final, around that time, I got nicked for the last time I ever got nicked. Fighting with an off-duty copper. It wasn't much of a fight. I was about 7.5 stone, piss wet through. And I was going to go back to jail, and then I lied and said I was due to go on a detox, and they let me off with a suspended sentence. Well, they didn't remand me. They were going to remand me. They didn't. So that I thought, right, I've got a court date. In the meantime, I need to get myself into a facility. And this was back in the day where you could do it without too much trouble on the NHS. So I went into a detox when I was 25. 25, 26. And from then, I was clean for the next sort of 2 years. I did detox rehab, residential rehab, second stage rehab, where you stayed there, but you didn't have a care worker there, or anything, or key worker, sorry. Then went back to college, because I'd always failed at college. Started uni. And then things were good, and I quit. At this point, I was sober. So this is like 26 by the time I go to college, 27 by the time I start uni, and then it's in my third year at uni that I started drinking again.
What was you doing for work between 2000 and
then? I used to work at the benefits agency when I was 18. Then I started working. What was I doing? Then I had loads of different jobs. There was a time when, obviously, when I come out of jail, I went to Malia for a bit. I was working in Trafford Park for a bit. I just had loads of different jobs, and I was up and down in
whatever.
Yeah, whatever. Nothing, no career. Nothing that you can go, okay, this is what I'm going to do in my life. That didn't happen until I was like at uni, that I started thinking properly, or at college, I should say. But I was just doing my whole life was just using, and whatever I can do to use drugs.
So we get in college, and have you decided you want to do journalism at that point?
We went, yeah, sort of. We went round the table. The lecturer went round the table. The college teacher was like, "What do you want to do?" Because it was a course to get into uni, so you have to say why you want to go to uni and what you want to do when you get to uni. And I hadn't even thought that far ahead. I just thought I want to go to uni. So he's going round, and then as he's pointing at me, he's going, "What do you want to do?" And in front of everyone, and I just said, "I want to be a journalist." And he went, "Why?" And I said, "I want to make documentaries." He went, "Right, okay, good," and carried on. And that was when I realised that's what I wanted to do. It was true, but if you'd asked me 5 minutes before, I might give you a different answer. It wasn't like I am going to college to go to uni to do journalism to become a documentary filmmaker, but that is on the spot what I thought I wanted to do. So yeah, that was the sort of goal. And the more I thought about it, the more I liked it. And once I started doing the journalism course, got into uni, then it just sort of, it was steered towards then, but I ended up falling into radio journalism instead.
What triggered the using again in year 3?
Between years 2 and 3, I went to Vegas. I'm trying to get the dates right here, because I think at the end of my second year, I had a nose job, right? Because I had a big nose and it was broke. And I'd saved up some money, because I've not been drinking, so you can save loads of money when you don't drink or use drugs. And I was working a lot when I was at uni. I was working in a bar, funnily enough. I don't know.
Working in a bar sober?
Yeah. Worked in a bar in Romford, right? And it was rough as fuck. And I'd never drank. Was all right. I was doing 12-step at the time, then I stopped doing 12-step, but I just carried on being sober for like another year. But I remember after I'd had my nose job, they give you these tablets, these painkillers for it, because you wear a mask for a bit. And then they give you these tablets were like just head banging. And I carried on taking them when I should have stopped, really. Then we've gone to Vegas, me and my friends. And I remember drinking in Vegas. And then I'm up and running again. And the third year in uni, I'm living near the uni. I'm having probably a bit too young. Is it midlife crisis at 29? But I'm reliving my youth at 29, so I'm out on the piss all the time and doing this, that and the other. Not really using drugs a lot, just more drinking. Going around London, Brick Lane and Shoreditch and that, drinking. The student union, drinking. Managed to finish my degree. Come back to Manchester. And then I started sniffing again almost as soon as I got back to Manchester.
Is that routine, circumstance, friend group, all of the above?
All of the above. People I knew were doing it, and I just fell back into that routine. And then I was living in a flat. I don't know if there's a statute of limitations here, but I might have had something in my spare room, some plants that I got money for, supplementing my wages. And the mad thing is, I'm reporting at this time. I came back to Manchester and started working as a reporter almost immediately. As first at work placement, and then as I was employed as a reporter. Whilst this was going on in my spare room, I was going out on drug raids, panicking that we were going to go to my house to do a drug raid, genuinely. Because we were raiding houses near my house that had grows on, and I'm thinking, what we're going to do, go to my house. I found, well, the good thing is I won't be in. Cause
when you're going around reporting, be like, where do you get them lights from?
Yeah, mate. I was like, yeah, we need to look at that. But I remember
on point.
The worst thing about reporting, and a sort of it should have been a wake-up call, but it wasn't. We went reporting one day, and I remember I was in a mess by this point, right? I'm just about getting away with it. I'm sniffing a lot, I'm drinking a lot. Woke up in the morning, I'm still out of my head, and they said, we need you to go down to this car park somewhere in Lancashire because they're doing this new thing where the police are going to drink and drug test drivers. You've got a new system where you breathe into it. It tells you not just whether you're drunk, but what drugs you've taken. So I'm like, right, okay. And I'd literally been using that morning. I'd like literally had a line, and then I felt a bit funny, so I had a beer. And I brushed my teeth. I know it's mental. Brushed my teeth. Got in the car.
I shouldn't be laughing.
No, it's comical, bro. It's ridiculous. Drove to this meeting, right, where there's all these journalists and everyone, and the police are in this car park. And I've seen all these journalists I know, and the police are this special breathalyzer thing. And they go, right, we need a volunteer. He's looked at me and he's gone like that. And there was a girl who I knew, a reporter, and I just went like that. Physically threw her like into him. Thank God he never clocked it, or she didn't. She just sort of laughed. I went, there you go. And he breathalyzed her, and obviously she hadn't been drinking and sniffing that morning, so she was fine. And I remember my heart was going, because I was thinking, if he'd done it in front of everyone, it would have come back positive. I'd have been nicked there and then in front of everyone, and probably been in the papers and on the radio and on the telly, because the whole sort of Northwest media was there covering this event. And what a gotcha it is. Yeah, it would have been a story. Q103 reporter gets nicked. In fact, it might have been at Rock FM at the time. So I
thought this is Rock FM.
Yeah.
Is it rock and roll if we're not?
Exactly. Come on. So that was like a real close call, and there was a few like that. There's a few where if I'd have been stopped by the police, I would have been over the limit. There's a few where.
Is this impacting behaviour though, or have you gone, whoa, got away with that? Anyway, back to it.
Yeah, got away with it. Carried on, man. Carried on for. I went through stages of having little moments where I was like, I've got to stop this. Stopped drinking for a while. Went back to NA or AA or whatever it was. 12 step.
You've proven you can do 2 years.
Yeah, with the 2 years though, I had detox, rehab, third stage rehab, go to meetings. Then I stopped going to meetings. Didn't do anything.
I was going to say, why didn't that stick?
Lots of reasons. I think I got.
Did you want it to stick?
Not really. I got into a relationship in one of the meetings, which when we split up, I just didn't. That put me off going back for a little while. It wasn't even a bad breakup, and so I didn't fall out. It's like an excuse really. Or might bump
you don't want to go back.
I don't bump it. It just might be a bit awkward. Even though there's hundreds of meetings across London, we never even went to the same meetings anyway, so that even makes any sense. It was just my justification. And that whole thing of looking down at people, I'm not as bad as I'm not. Why do I need to go? I'm fine, I'm cured. I always used to think that, I'm cured now. Did it again in like 2000, and I'm guessing probably about 2010, 11, went back to meetings, got a little bit clean. And then about 2013, around the time we won the title, United last won the title, I was drinking again. And then things came to a head when I went to Brazil for the 2014 World Cup.
So Brazil, a high point and a low point at the same time.
Oh, it was disaster. Like, I mean, I had a good time for a spell, but I got away with it again there. I remember like buying sniff in Brazil, doing it in this cafe, like with the police walking past and the cafe owner just going mad.
Not sketchy.
No, saying like, don't do that, you'll get battered and nicked and all that. And the sniff was shit as well. And then I was drinking. My missus, who was at the time, I'm sure she won't mind me telling this, was pregnant with at the time, still with her. I don't know why I said that. Been together fucking 11 years, 12 years. Sorry, Rona. Yeah, I was with her at the time, not anymore, because when she sees this, she's going to dump me. But she was pregnant. We'd been up and down. We'd actually broke up, found out she was pregnant and got back together. And while we broke up, I'd booked to go to Brazil. So it wasn't a good scenario. We'd said we'll give it another go, but I'd already booked this trip to Brazil. Came back, and obviously she already had a daughter who I've adopted now, Lily, my eldest daughter. We lost the baby, and then maybe partly that was because of her stressing about my being drinking again in Brazil and coming back and not being great. I don't know, I'm not a doctor, but I can't have helped. And she was like, look, you do what you got to do. I can't carry on like this. I've got to think about Lily. I've got to think about my future. You're not going to be around if you carry on like this for us. And she was right. And now I've had that sort of ultimatum before, and I've been like, right, off you go to exes and stuff. But this time I was 34. I felt bad seeing what I'd put her through, and I wanted to be a dad to Lily. I wanted to start a family, or extend the family, I should say. So that was the wake-up call that I had, and that was June 30th, I think, or July the 1st, 2014.
You had your last beer In Miami, right?
In Atlanta.
Atlanta.
Yeah, I had my last beer in Atlanta on the layover coming back because we had a 10-hour layover.
What? I can understand holiday regret once you get home. I can understand missing being home while you're away. Was you there for the whole World Cup, all 4 weeks?
No, we was there for it was meant to be 4 weeks, but all of us came back a little bit early for different reasons. So yeah, I lasted about 2.5 weeks.
What's given you the clarity and the sort of like light bulb moment whilst at a World Cup in Brazil, which for a football fan is going to Mecca, isn't it?
Yeah, there was a lot of things. I mean, I didn't know I was going to start drinking at the time. I knew she'd had trouble with her pregnancy, so I needed to get back for that. Got back, and then within like a week or two, we found out she had a scan. We found out obviously there was no heartbeat. But at that time, I'm not thinking I'm going to start drinking again. I'm just thinking, let's get back, make sure everything's okay, and then we'll work through it.
So did you not drink that last beer knowing it was the last beer?
No.
Oh, right, I thought you did. I thought you had made a decision.
No. For all I knew, I'd go back to London, but I'd have one at fucking Altrincham or wherever, Manchester Airport. But I got back pretty much almost, within a week or whenever it was. I can't remember the exact time scale. We found out that bad news. And then, it was a wake-up call, man. You're going through like... it's not going to be one of them, right, where you start getting me upset. I'm not on that. When you're going through a maternity ward and your missus is in bits because everyone's sat there with a bump and you've had that bad news and you feel guilty and responsible for it as well. Pretty shit, ain't going to lie. It's the biggest wake-up call I've ever had, and I thought...
But you've had big wake-up calls that didn't...
But not like that. That hit differently. That was something else. And I thought, do I want to carry on doing what I'm doing? Do I want a family? Do I want to extend the family? Do I want to be there for Lily? Do I want to be there for Varney? Yeah, I do. And I can't do both. I can't drink and take drugs and be a dad and be a partner and be a person who you can rely on. I can't do it. I'm fucking useless.
Is the why the strongest why that you had in all of the time using and drinking? Is that strong why was clearly enough, but is the why there stronger than any of the other whys that you've had?
Yeah, 100%. And it kept me going as well, and it's kept me going for a different reason, because from that moment on, we had Ellis. Ellis was our rainbow baby. So that would have been June or July 2014. We had Ellis in June 2015. So we got pregnant quite quickly. Obviously, I said I'm not drinking anymore, and we was, which is what the problem had been, me drinking and sniffing. Because my missus never done drugs as well, right? And I fucked up because she didn't know I took drugs. She thought I had a bladder problem. So when we went out, I kept going to the toilet. And so she just, because she's not from our world or my world where that would be like, oh, he's on it, she just thought he's got a weak bladder. And then I got out my head that much one night. I told her and she went mad. So she realised like what I was doing. So she was like, look, I can't going along for that ride. So when all this happened and was decided like to try again, I'd stopped drinking. I know it hadn't been that long, been a month or whatever, but I'd shown even within that month that I was determined, that I was, I was okay. And then once we got pregnant with Ellis, then there was a bigger determination than ever to be there for this baby and be there for Lily. And it circles back to what I was saying at the beginning of all this, of me feeling shit and less than when my dad ducked out, or my biological father. I think it's a bit of a stretch to call me dad, and not wanting to put that unborn baby or that Lily, who was 3 at the time, through that. And then once Ellis was born, I genuinely felt like all bets are off. I know it's people, I'm not trying to be melodramatic or schmaltzy, but it's like, that's it now. It's not about me. It's about there's 3 people who we've got a son, a daughter, and a missus who, they not to be egotistical, but they need me. And I honestly, I don't rate myself at anything. If you ask me, am I the best at anything? No. I genuinely 100% believe that my kids are better off with me around than anyone else. I don't think they'd be better off with someone else. And I know the best that I can be is without having a beer or drink or drug, sorry. So that was it then. And I was on it. And one thing I always struggle with, you'll speak to a lot of people about their sobriety and they might have took this journey, they might do this, that and the other to get there. Mine's quite different in the sense that for the last 11 years, when you say to me, what have you done to keep yourself sober? This isn't good advice and I'm not recommending it, but I'm being honest. Nothing. I haven't done anything. I don't go to meetings. I don't go to rehab. I don't have therapy. I don't take...
Full cold turkey.
Yeah, I just don't drink anymore. And I don't use drugs anymore. And I've got 11 years in with it. And I've got mates who do all the things that you meant to do and they stay clean through that, and more power to them. I'm not dissuading anyone from doing that. But for me, it's like a switch went in my head and it was just like, right, you cannot drink anymore. You cannot take drugs anymore. And I'm all right with it. And I've had genuinely the best 11 years of my life. Like, me and you've been away. I'm fine being around it. I'm not like, oh God, Steve's having a beer. I wish I could. Don't bother me. I don't want one.
But the only thing that I ever see you mess with at all is one cigar, usually. Sometimes two. On a trip away.
Yeah, that's it. And even that upset my son. He was moaning about it. So if I have a cigar in the garden, I have to wait till everyone's in bed. But even then, I had a cigar when we went to San Diego. My next one was like, I think when we went to Atlanta. It was a year later. Yeah, like, it's not a big thing, it's just a little treat that I liked. But yeah, it's weird. I can't explain it. I wish I could. I wish I could.
That people would do. Cigar seems like it's a whiskey. There's things that seem to go together. Yeah. And that seems like one of them. Just a lone cigar. I've never known anyone that just likes that. But it's a quirk of you, innit?
Yeah, it's just something I like to do now and again. And when I say now and again, it is now and again.
Yeah, once a year in America for some reason.
I know, yeah. It doesn't quite hit the same in my garden in Eccles or my fire.
How does being a match-going football fan mesh with being sober? Because that world can heavily revolve around ritual. My meeting place for all of my mates, apart from maybe the last year or so, is the boozer.
Yeah.
There's far too much cocaine at football.
That's true.
I think it's fair to say.
No, I agree.
I've never understood that in the slightest. It also explains why the songs are very, very fast, I think.
Yeah, 100%.
But what's the impact and the temptation like at football been like?
It's so weird today, I can't explain it, because the football's been fucking garbage for a big chunk of my sobriety. I've seen the team that won title after title after title when I was on it win, some cups and tournaments, but come nowhere realistically near a title, nowhere near a Champions League. And yeah, I've been sober throughout it all, and I've been fine with it. I've enjoyed it in a weird way more than anything. More than I used to enjoy it when we used to win things, because I didn't remember it. I wasn't there. I mean, I used to get annoyed with the football when we were winning things, because it got in the way of using. Honestly, I've spent more than half time in the toilets on games where United have been dominating and winning. But now I'm present for it, and I'm very lucky in everything I do. And maybe I've got to take, give myself some credit in the sense that these are the friends I've got and have chosen in a way, that I don't hang around with people that are just constantly on it or whatever. But all my close friends who I grew up with, I'm still good friends with. All the friends that I went to the game with when I was using, I still go to the game with. And yet no one sort of encourages me, no one's judging me. You don't when we were together. The lads on the channel, you know what I'm about and you get it. And it's the same with my friends who go to football, they know what I'm about, they get it. And you got to remember as well, for me, I always think, they're not going to like it when I stop drinking. They're relieved, because they see what I was like. I needed babysitting. I was someone who'd liability. I'm someone who's like to get you chucked out of the stadium, or you're not going to get into the game, or he's going to go missing, or, where's Jay? Oh, don't know. You are joking. He's got the keys to the room or whatever. Like, just drama that I've caused, or he's going to get us all nicked. There's none of that, so there's a relief there. And plus my friends, the friends that I go to the game with, they're all my age or a bit there or thereabouts. So none of them are really into drugs. They drink, and that's fine. And also they tend to do, when say you do European away, they like the quieter bars and stuff. They're not in the main square with the flags. They tend to be a little bit further away. So it's not a massive issue for me. I've sort of gravitated towards the people that, I'm not going to gravitate, just the circle of friends I have don't do that. So it's not that difficult.
It seems like a lot of people that maybe aren't able to have the success that you had in terms of the cold turkey sobriety would or do struggle, because they're not giving up their season ticket.
Yeah. The
lad that's picking them up is also on it. And it's those habits, those routines, isn't it? I think that's the habits and routines are probably what keeps people locked into using and to drinking and stuff.
I think you have to be strong as well. You have to let people know that if you're trying to stop, you got to tell people that and let people know. My friends all knew that and they got it. They'd seen the state I was getting myself in. So there isn't any encouragement. You are right about routine habits. There might be an element of you have to change some of them. I'm not saying you should do everything the same that you ever did when you was drinking and using and just hope for the best. There might be some sort of element of, all right, I'm not going to hang around with certain people. I'm not going to put myself in that position. So I get that. For some people, that's the way it needs to be. And I understand that. I do a lot of work with Alcohol Change UK, and they always ask me, they asked me to film a video once, and I filmed it here, and they asked me to refilm it because the background had a load of rum bottles in it. And they were like, I get the fact that you're saying that, you know, you can still have a good time and be in bars and stuff without having a drink, but is there any chance you can reshoot it not in a bar? And I was like, all right, okay, I get it.
Who'd build a bar in our workplace, eh?
I know, in a studio. I tried to explain that to them. This isn't a bar, this is a studio. You asked me to film in the studio.
They're all not even open, by the way.
So shut up. So I had to refilm it. But they asked me to talk about going to football without a drink, doing things that you can, like socialising and stuff, and you can have a good time and go out and be with your friends and stuff without drinking. But there are some routines you may need to alter. If you're hanging around with people that are just sniffing all the time, maybe that isn't a good look. But what I tended to do was when I'd quit, we went a couple of European aways where some of my friends were still sniffing, some of the friends that I've got back home. And once the plane landed, I'd leave them to it and sort of go around, hang around with the lads that weren't, because it's just not as much fun as well being around people that are just completely out of their head. It gets boring very quickly, do you know what I mean? And that was one way you have to go, all right, maybe I'm not going to sit in the corner of this bar for the next 10 hours while they sniff their noses off.
So that's where people do fail, is they've not been able to separate themselves from the habits.
A little bit, yeah. Yeah, I think you need an element of that. You can still enjoy yourself, you can still do certain things. I'm a big advocate for that, but you have to protect yourself at certain times as well. And I think a big reason people fail is trying to sort of do half and half. Try not to be open about it. You got to be as blatant as upfront about it with everyone as you can. I ain't having a drink. I ain't doing that. I ain't on it. Let them know. Do you know what I mean? If your friends, they'll get it. All my friends got it. Not once have I been out with you where we've been away where you've gone, go on, Jay, just have one. Come on. You haven't. No, I know, you know what I mean? Because you're my mate, you give a shit. My friends are all the same.
I don't think it'd ever even run at me.
No, it wouldn't. I think you'd get annoyed if someone did that in front of you. It's the same with my friends that I've grown up with. They're all the same. Like, they never once go, they've seen the change in me, they've seen who I am compared to how I used to be. It's a fucking mess. Do you know what I mean? Look at some of the pictures I've got from back in the day. I don't look well. I'm not saying I look great now, but I look okay. Whereas back in the day, I was honestly, I look like I'd just been dug up. So they get it, and they've got my back in that respect. So, and also, going back to the football thing, we do a lot of football podcasts. We're on a channel that's quite well known. I'm open on it. I love the fact that none of you guys have got a problem with me being open on the channel about my sobriety. None of you say, Jay, fucking turn it in. It's like, I'm okay saying that. People who meet me know that because they watch the channel. Do you know what I mean? They've seen us on Stretford Paddock, they've seen me and you on the brew, whatever. So a lot of people actually, and you'll find this because I know you're quite open about certain struggles you've had. I get more messages about sobriety from people that watch the channel than I do about football. I do. People don't message because they know my fucking ball knowledge is terrible for starters. But more people message me about, Jay, I'm a month clean, I'm a year clean, I'm 6 months clean. When we went away, people coming up to me, oh, Jay, just wanted to let you know, I really appreciate that, or it's good that you talk about it so open and honestly. So people kind of know that I'm not on it, which helps as well. It's a massive help.
There's two things I want to pull up there. One of them is, just before I forget it, is I remember seeing something about, there was a podcast I was watching and they were saying, stop saying you're trying to quit smoking. I've never smoked, so it's not really a thing for me, but the podcast was talking about someone that was saying, when trying to quit smoking, stop saying I'm trying to quit smoking and say I don't smoke.
Yeah.
Because almost it's like an affirmation.
That you're not quite there yet, or sort of thing, or like, yeah, it's still up for debate. And that's a good point, that, because I would never say I'm trying to quit drinking.
Yeah, you say I don't.
I don't drink. And it's like, I used to make excuses when I first stopped. I remember someone saying to me, is it because your religion? I said, yeah. I haven't got a religion. You pick one, if you think I'm, I assumed they thought I was Muslim, but I'm not. But I just went, yeah. And I was like, I used to pretend I was on antibiotics. I was on antibiotics like for about fucking a year. Like, or I was driving even when I wasn't. Like, I used to come up with silly excuses. You just got to be honest. I'm not drinking because I don't drink. It's that fucking simple.
I think the other thing of you're obviously, you just touched on it then a little bit, is because we are so public and we can't go, anywhere without someone grassing us up where we are. I mean, I know you got a text about this before I stopped Red Bull, by the way. Before it sounds like
this
I'm
is
grassing
class.
myself up. Yeah. So you know Craig Norwood, tier 1.
The original tier 1. The bat signal went out with Norwood. He broke the Radamel Falcao story. He broke the Di Maria story. He was David Ornstein and Fabrizio Romano before they existed.
Yeah. And he broke a story,
He did.
which is on the
Gave
level.
me the exclusive.
On the level of those,
He
which
did.
he just saw me in Esso buying some Red Bull.
He literally sent me a message and it said, I've just seen Stephen Howson buying Red Bull.
And it's tier 1, so you know it's true.
Tier 1, I was like, right, I'll tweet that then. That's gold. I'll go live. Have we got a camera? Let's go live. But yeah, that was a thing. And
I think us being so public, if someone did see you having a bev or
yeah,
disappearing into a cubicle, like I think someone would grass us up.
they would. And I hate it sometimes when we might be in a... Not because it bothers me. Like, you might say we was in a bar. I don't think you've done it. I might be wrong. But I think Macca might have done it once or Joe, where it's like, just hold that a minute. And not because I'm going to drink it. I'm not going to go, fuck it, well, let's give it a go. But because I think someone's going to see that and go, Jay got a fucking beer in his hand there. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've had a couple of situations like that.
I did that with Abdul.
Did ya?
Yeah, I made him carry some shopping in from one room to another and went as he came through. There's actually a lot of people seeing their ass when I did my little memorial post for him because they're like, oh, he's carrying beer. I'm like, you don't know our relationship.
No, you and Abdul are funny together, and like no one can judge that. It was great, and you know, you're the reason that I knew him, got to know him so well. He's still sorely missed, but no, he'd have loved that. So yeah, I get a bit like that. I get a bit like now and again, like fucking hell, someone's gonna see that and go, "I've just seen Jay's full of shit."
It's probably kept me on the straight and narrow because I nearly wobbled in America. I can't remember what day it was. There was one day in America where I went, "What's the harm of one?"
Right.
And I thought I'll get seen, so I didn't.
It's whatever, you know. If that might be that one thing, if that stops you that day.
Yeah.
They do say just for today, don't they? They say take it one day at a time. I think I almost forget that time, but it's true. And I think you can do what I do. Sometimes is fast forward it, and it's like, where does this lead? Where does this go? It doesn't fucking end with just one, does it? You probably end up just drinking Red Bull again, and that's, you know, obviously been a massive problem for you in the past. And I've seen a change in you since you stopped. It's not a coincidence that you stopped drinking Red Bull and you've fucking lost loads of weight and look 10 times better, no disrespect, than you used to. So I get it. It's not easy to stop those things, but once you've done it, the last thing you want to do is go back, because that's like knocking on the cell door and saying, "Can you let me back in?" Innit?
Well, we had Danny on last week on the podcast, and we were saying about, I think it might be Lance Armstrong. Him talking about sobriety. Is he completely clean and sober? Is he Lance Armstrong?
I don't know. You know, I always get confused with Lance Armstrong. Where we're up to with him? Like, is he still? No, does no one like him, or is he forgiven? Was the whole cancer thing? Did he get credit for that, or did people judge him because he raised money on the back of his cheating? Do you know what I mean? I don't know where Lance Armstrong is in the terms of sort of what he's up to, what people think about.
Yeah.
It.
Was
Right.
everyone else? Yeah.
Right. That's what I mean. See, I'm not a big cycling fan, and I struggle to.
I think they said if they started looking into the records and they award it to the first person that's never popped, 13th was getting it.
Right. Is it
So
like
let's
that?
be real. He's the best of all time.
Right,
Was he
fair enough.
juicing? Yeah. But the entire crowd was.
Right, okay.
I think I've read somewhere once that said it was actually not healthy to do the Tour de France unless you are juicing, because it's that physically demanding.
Fucking hell. Right. Okay. I can imagine. Well, me and you, you know, we ran up a hill and nearly killed ourselves. So imagine what.
Tour de France ain't on the list.
Yeah, I mean,
It's not something we're going to be ticking off, I don't think.
Don't need to do that.
But the Lance Armstrong said he's never heard, I'm sure it was him that said it, it might be not, but let's just credit to him anyway. He never heard of anyone going sober and going, my life fell apart when I went sober.
So true.
It's always the complete opposite, isn't it?
No, the thing is, right, I've got more responsibilities now, I've got more pressure in a way, because I know, you know better than anyone, you've got a lot of responsibilities. That throws up its own sort of stresses at times, where it's things I didn't have to used to worry about, but now I do. So it's not like if you get sober, everything is fixed in your life and everything's wonderful. My life's improved massively, and it continues to. But I've still got things that I need to do, and I've still got responsibilities and things that I need to be accountable for. But the thing is, I can achieve them and fix them and do them when I'm sober. I can't if I'm drinking. If I was to start drinking, everything goes out the fucking window. My family life falls apart. My career, you couldn't have me on the channel if I was using. You just couldn't. I wouldn't want you to. So my career would be gone. My family would be up in the air. which in itself would unravel certain things because I'm the main breadwinner in our house, and like, where does that lead? Sorry. So yeah, everything will just become problematic. Whereas any problem I've got whilst I'm sober is fixable. And this time me and you spoke about this. Both had, you know, things we've got to fix or things we've got to do that can get to us, but we've managed to do them. Whereas, you know, if I was drinking or if I was taking drugs or sniffing, you couldn't even trust me. You know what I mean? You wouldn't trust me because I'd just be.
Where's that coming from?
yeah. You know, I was looking at. But do you know what I mean? Like, you know, like. I'm, you know, if you give me access to the company accounts, which I've got, I'm not going to fucking do anything with it. Whereas if I was using, I couldn't trust myself. Little things like that. So
it's a domino, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think that's the way I described everything that I've done over the last couple of years. It's just one domino.
Yeah.
But it's momentum, and maybe sobriety to you because of the excess that you took it to, or took using to, it might be a bigger domino than the Red Bull was for me.
Listen, I would never compare or judge or say, oh, is his only Red Bull, mine was sniff. Doesn't matter.
No, I think it's...
Yeah, I mean, like...
Red Bull wasn't causing mine was causing some issues, but I don't think it was causing the same. I think it's perfectly fine to say but sobriety is a bigger domino.
Whatever it is, though. Whatever that domino, that domino is. If it leads to chaos and carnage and you feeling like you've had enough, then it doesn't matter what that domino is. It's all relative to the person in it. So for me, the reason some people ask me, you know, why don't you just drink a little bit? I can't. I've never drank a little bit. Going back to when I was 12 on the back of that bus, I'm not going to start now. Do you know what I mean? There's no way I'm just going to have, say, one of those glasses of rum or whatever. It just leads to eventually me being on the phone with the dealer and it's all the wheels have come off. Do you know what I mean? It would. And I think with you, with that one Red Bull, when you said that, I think you knew it. It ain't going to be one Red Bull. It's probably going to be just more drama at some point. That drama might come 5 years from now, but that will be the domino, like you said. And even for me, I have drank and had a career. I was reporting and drinking and barely got away with it, but I was. I finished uni while I was still drinking. So I can, you know, I could start drinking today and I might be on this channel and be, you know, the dad and everything, and I've been all right for a few more months or even a year maybe, but eventually it unravels. It will, and I know it will. Whereas for the last 11 years it hasn't. It's not a coincidence. So I know that that's what I need to do, and I'm fortunate in the sense that it's not a chore for me. It's not a problem. It's not a white knuckle. Do you know what I mean? I struggle. I remember when we went to, I think you were ill actually. We went to Dublin. I think you were ill in the airport and you had to go back home. But we went with Wes Brown. I still think he thinks I drink for some reason because he always tells me things about, like, you know, the bars are shutting at 12 tonight. They're not serving any beer and things like that.
That was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. And I'm like...
He was devoed. He thought Jay was going to be equally shared.
Yeah.
He's devoed.
He told me that the bars were shutting in Atlanta at midnight and they won't serve beer after midnight. And I was like, all right, cheers for letting me know. So we were with Wes and me, Macca and Joe and Wes and Wes's missus, who knew my missus from school, and they were there. And there was all this Guinness, and then we got home, and Missy said, oh, I never had a baby Guinness. So I was like, well, what is it? We Googled it, and she's like, I think it's Tia Maria and Bailey's or something. So that was between Christmas and New Year's. So for New Year's Eve, I got a bottle of Bailey's and a bottle of Tia Maria for a baby Guinness. And I swear to God, Steve, right, that Tia Maria and that Bailey's sat on our side for about 3 months, untouched. And I just couldn't get my head around that. Because if that's me, it's getting done in. Do you know what I mean? My missus is just like, well, bother, can take it or leave it. But I'm not like that. If I start drinking, we'll stop when the bottle's empty. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
We've got a glass or two of rum in here, which doesn't call out to me.
Yeah.
You know, I can have it. And I did a social post yesterday because I wanted to bring this post up, actually. So when we had Danny on last week, he had a quite philosophical way of looking at drinking. Is this going to enhance this moment? You know, sometimes a glass of champagne to toast something, sometimes an ice cold beer on a hot day. You know, there are moments that can be, providing that you can actually have that one, they can enhance a moment. And I'm thinking, like, for you, it ain't going to enhance that moment because it ain't going to be one, it's going to be 25, and then it's going to be whatever we can get our hands on afterwards, and then it's going to be, you know, the toothpaste is out of the toothpaste tube. and where do we go from here? And I'm almost thinking the same thing on a lesser scale with the Red Bull of case of like, it ain't one. It's once a day. It's one next Saturday when I woke up a bit tired. Then it's one on the way home on Saturday. And because that's how it started.
Of course.
And I think I'm rather going to keep the cap on the toothpaste tube.
Yeah.
Rather than play with fire and potentially get burnt.
100%. And again, I keep using words like fortunate, but it's true. Another thing for me is I don't like the taste of beer and alcohol.
Do you know?
No. I know.
I actually do like the taste.
I don't. Like, even if I was drinking, if you gave me Pepsi Max Cherry, that'll get you pissed, or a can of beer will get you pissed. I'd rather drink the Pepsi Max Cherry. I've never been a fan of drinking beer. I remember when I started drinking beer thinking, Jesus Christ, this is what I've got to drink for the rest of my life. This is minging. I mean, I did drink it for the next 20 years, but yeah, I didn't enjoy it. Even shorts, like vodka and orange, or D Serrano and Coke was the closest I got to liking a drink, and I think that's because it tastes a little bit like, Dr. Pepper or whatever. I'd much rather have a soft drink, I would. So like you going back to having a cigar and a whiskey, a cigar and a Diet Coke or a Pepsi Max was fine for me. That was like, I'm all right with that because I've never really liked the taste. So whilst it's things like toasting and that, I know you might have the glass of champagne, but yeah, that's helped me because I've never been someone who's like, oh, do you know what I could do on this day today? I'd love a nice, glass of beer, like you said. No, I've never been like that. I've never been on it, which is mad, I know.
Talk to me a little bit about some of the advocacy you're doing, because I know you don't say no to anyone.
Yeah, I know you take the piss out of me, and I get where you're coming from, because there's times when I'm on a podcast that there's 4 people watching concurrently, and you're like, it's 8 at night, I've just finished work, and I'm sat here in my kitchen doing this. Why? But I always like to, people reach out, I still feel a little bit like, why are you asking me, really? Okay. Also, maybe it goes back to my journalism days. I used to ask a lot of people, can you give an interview? Can you do this? And I always respect that. And if it's someone I think is a decent person or a United fan or whatever, I'm up for it. The main things I do that I sort of get something from, obviously the Alcohol Change UK, being an ambassador for them, that's been quite positive. I've enjoyed that. It's been mad moments. I did a thing with Neil Ruddock a few months ago where I hated Neil Ruddock when I was younger because of what he did to Andy Cole. Actually,
perfectly valid.
Yeah, but it actually ended up annoyingly being all right. And
we don't forget.
No, I said that to him. So I said, I thought he might shake your hand. I thought you did to Andy Cole. But apparently he's doing a documentary of him. I don't know if that's true.
Is it Andy Cole breaking his legs? Because otherwise, I'm.
That's it. Yeah, I think that would be the crux of the thing. And he actually told me some interesting things about the cup final as well, the 96 cup final, which was quite good. And I do stuff for the Boob Centre. It's a homeless centre in Manchester. Cheetah Mill, you've helped me out with a couple of things as well, which I've been in all sorts of pickles, and I look at some of the people that use those facilities, and I've been in a similar situation, so it's nice to be asked to help out. My trustee there, that came from my phone dying and asking to use the toilet, and someone there knew me, and before I knew it, I was a trustee.
If I don't have to come to work and make money, I'd work there, mate.
Yeah, it's mint.
Because I do get a lot out of that, and I think I like the homeless charities because they're not tied to a race, a religion, any sort of anything, like anyone. And I think in Britain as well, especially with fucking the way it's on its arse at the moment, I think most of us are probably 6 weeks away from being there.
Mate, I'm paycheck to paycheck. I'm just about managing. I can't go 1 month without getting paid. I'm not in a financial position where I go, I'll just use my savings. I get it. And I get when you haven't got a support network around you. I'm fortunate that I have. That those sort of things can happen to you before you know it. And there's a lot of people there that were working, we're in a house, we're fine. One thing happened and it wrecked their entire sort of, not their life because they're still alive and thriving in some cases or doing well, but it messed them up in terms of their situation.
It annoys me that people see everyone that's homeless as a druggie or they're of their own hand or something along those lines. Honestly, to me, if I'm dehumanized and on the street 24/7, I've got nowhere else to be, you better believe I'm off my nut.
Of course.
Just to pass the time and not feel the the shame, the guilt, the dehumanization of them.
You're so true. It's so true.
Let's have a fucking dab of that spice.
Exactly. It's like, I don't blame them at all. And when we did stuff for the Booth Centre, we did, I know you've offered to help out as well. We did a couple of games there. We did a game at FC United. They got like a free haircut that your man Dej helped sort out. And then they wore a kit, had a game, 11 aside. And, you know, some of them were crying because they just loved it that much when they came off the pitch. It was so emotional because they played in a game like that, at a stadium like that. And it was good to see, man. And some of them decent at football as well, certainly a lot better than I am. So, yeah, that's quite a rewarding thing. And then another thing, again, you've helped me with, Len Johnson statue, which we're trying to get. We had a charity game 2 years running. We didn't have it last year, but we're going to try again next year, I think. Try and get a statue of someone who won over 90 fights, but because of the colour of his skin, wasn't allowed to hold the British title that he'd won in the ring. So, yeah, it's nice to be able to do these things and get asked to do these things and be deemed worthy of contributing to these things when for a good chunk of my life I'd have been fucking, you know, absolutely useless to anyone. So, yeah, there's times when you think, can you be bothered? Do you know what I mean? Like, honestly, I'm a human. I've got kids I want to spend time with, you know, yourself. We've got Stretford Paddock is a big job. We're trying to sort of get to 1 million subs and stuff. There's a lot of work that goes in that. But it's worth it, man. It is. And, you know, during this time as well of being sober, I've had another kid, Esme. Got my master's degree in production, which comes in handy considering I never do any production. So, yeah, you know, I've done a lot of things that I never thought possible. So that's why I always go back to it and think, would I risk all that for drinking a drink I don't even like the taste of anyway? That I know is going to fucking ruin my life. No.
One mindset or tool that you think someone who's toying with the idea or feeling like they need to look at sobriety for their future that you could give them or hand them if you had the opportunity?
I think first the most obvious one is just being honest about it. Tell whatever it is. If it's like that, if you're thinking about it, be honest with those around you. Say to the people that you've got in your life, look, I think I need to stop drinking. Just be honest with yourself as well. Why are you having this conversation? Why are you even thinking about it? I doubt very much you're thinking about it because your life's mint and everything's going really well. Do you know what I mean? I'd be very surprised if you're sat on your yacht, drinking champagne, going, I think I need to quit. You probably got yourself in a bit of a pickle, either you know, mentally, emotionally, or you know, whatever that may be. So why are you in that position? Be honest about it, and then speak to someone, man. Reach out to someone. I get people reaching out to me, or speak to some of your friends. Being honest is the first step. You've got to be honest about it. If I said to you, "Steve, drink's not an issue for me," when we'd have met, I'd have told you that. You might believe me. If I said, just, you know, I'm just not having a drink today. But eventually, you're probably going to be in a position where you go, all right, Jay, well, do you want a beer or whatever? But you don't, because you know me. I've been honest with you. I've been honest with all my friends, been honest with my family from day one in my sobriety. I think that's the biggest thing you can do, is just be honest about it. Otherwise, you're making it difficult for yourself, because then you've got to keep up this deception of whatever, and you're going to struggle.
Has it ever been difficult for you, like, around, because we have a good look at it, don't we, on tour sometimes? Has it ever been difficult when, you know, me, Mark, or Joe, etc., are getting smashed?
I'll give you this one thing, right? I'm not saying this to everyone, but you lot are actually funny, right? You are, right? I'll give you this. You're funny to be around when you've had a beer. You make me laugh. We have a good laugh. So it's not a drama. It's never, you're not going out, wreaking havoc, kicking off, being dickheads, or trying to be funny and not being. So it's a good laugh, and we have a good laugh, and we had some good laughs on tour, and we always do. So that's not a problem for me. I'm with my mates having a laugh in a different country, feeling pretty privileged that I'm even there. So yeah, it's not a drama at all. There's certain people that I used to drink with that I don't have it with anymore. You know, I barely got on with them when we drank, let alone fucking me not drinking and them having it. But the close friends I've got, I still speak to, and you guys when we've been away. It's just been a top laugh, man. We had a real giggle.
One regret and one unexpected gift in your sobriety journey.
My one regret is probably that I was still drinking when Lily came into my life. I don't know if she remembers, she's only 2, but that bothers me a little bit, because I've never seen me drink, or I've never, you know, I've always been sober since Alice has been born. Same with Lily, same with Esme, sorry. That's probably a little bit of a regret. I don't know if she remembers. She certainly doesn't. I mean, we have a very good relationship. You know, she's took my name, she calls me Dad. You know, I think the world of her, obviously. But that's probably a slight regret, that I know I was still drinking when I was her guardian. And what was the other one? Sorry, bro.
One unexpected gift.
One unexpected gift. Do you know what's been an unexpected gift? He's actually enjoying. I know we won't make it about United, but he's enjoying some of the things that have happened at United being sober.
When the hell did that happen?
The FA Cup final against Manchester City. There's 2 times I've got emotional, right? Genuinely emotional at a football match or because of a football match. One was when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer scored the winner in the Nou Camp. I wasn't there, but I remember crying afterwards. And when Kobbie Mainoo scored, I started to go. I thought, watching academy graduates tear City apart, a City team that beat us in the final last year, it got to me. So yeah, the 4-3 against the Scousers as well. One of the best days I've had as a United fan. Like, genuinely, me and you've watched United all over the world. I've seen us win all sorts. But I've had some moments in sobriety watching this United team that just finished 15th that I didn't think was possible. And it's mad because when you ask me about, what was it like when United won this, that and the other, I don't fucking know, because I was just... I slept through I slept through the 99 final against Newcastle and woke up and found out we'd won. Like, it was a haze, the rest of it. So yeah, that's been an unexpected bonus, even though we've been pretty shit. I've enjoyed a lot of it.
Jay, this has been enlightening and fun. What I would say is if you want to get more into some of these stories, Jay's got a podcast with Scotty called Sober Fellas, which is... There's been some mega guests on there and some really interesting stories and some crazy people.
Yeah.
Which I would suggest. I'll drop a link in. Go check them out.
Thanks, bro. Appreciate that. Good stuff. Keep up the good work.